Good evening, dear sisters and brothers. Welcome to the evening session of Being Heartful Every Day with Swadhyaya. As we continue this sacred journey into the second week of our theme, Designing Destiny, we begin to see more clearly that the process is not dramatic but deliberate. It is not loud but subtle. It is a work of the heart carried out in stillness, patience, and sincerity. Sometimes it takes sustained attention for a truth to reveal its deeper layers. And that's why we stay with this theme, not out of repetition, but out of reverence. Because destiny, in the way we understand it in heartfulness, is not a fixed outcome, but a living possibility. It unfolds through refinement of thought, purification of impressions, and the conscious participation of the soul in the process of its own evolution. Integrating Swadhyaya into the daily routine. This remains our gentle compass, reminding us that Swadhyaya is not separate from life, but the lens through which we examine it. When we practice with sincerity, it helps us stay rooted in purpose, alert in awareness, and humble in the learning. One of the subtle shifts we begin to experience on this path is to move from designing destiny for ourselves to becoming instruments in the unfolding of a higher destiny. In the beginning, our questions are centered around what is my purpose? What do I want to become? But gradually, with abhyas and inner transformation, the question becomes what is life trying to become through me? What does the divine wish to express through this instrument? This shift is crucial. It is the difference between ambition and aspiration, between control and surrender. Daji often reminds us that the work is done subtly, silently, and gracefully. Our role is to prepare moment by moment, day by day, and that what needs to unfold may do so without resistance. Inviting others into the circle of commitment. You never know whose heart is silently waiting for an invitation. If someone you know is seeking clarity, meaning, or peace, please consider introducing them to Being Heartful Everyday sessions and also to the Heartfulness Master classes. We will now turn towards our inspirational reading for this evening, which is from the article Destiny and Freedom of Choice by beloved Taji. This is from the issue of November 2017 Heartfulness magazine. The Science of Spirituality. Evolution of Consciousness series. Sometimes I'm caught up in a whirlpool of troubling thoughts. Why do tragedies happen to noble people who are so good? Especially, I have been thinking about the life of Mother Sita from the ancient Indian epic tale, the Ramayana. The Ramayana is the classic hero's journey, as described by the Joseph Campbell, a tale of good versus evil, where good eventually triumphs over evil in a great battle. But it is not a happily ever after tale by any means. After being abducted by the evil Ravana and rescued by her noble husband, the avatar Lord Rama, Mother Sita was then humiliated by him in public, and who knows how many times behind closed doors in the palace. Eventually, she was exiled to the forest without her husband, and finally swallowed up by Mother Earth. Swami Vivekananda said about this about her. To say that she was pure is a blasphemy. She was purity itself embodied. The most beautiful character that ever lived on earth. Despite everything that happened in the epic, she did not mind her sufferings or the injustice that was dealt to her. She stayed centered in her Lord. It was a tragic story on par with any of the greatest love stories of world literature. Lord Rama never remarried, always remained faithful to her, and ended his life by voluntarily walking into the Sarayu River. Now, was this tragedy foretold? None other than the great Saptarishi Vashishta, one of the seven sages, prophesied her marriage to Lord Rama as the perfect match. According to this great rishi, nothing could go wrong, but instead their whole life was packed with misery to the extent that Lord Rama, the all knower, rejected his wife so many times. Philosophers give all sorts of logical reasons and explanations, but nothing satisfies the heart. The fundamental question keeps coming to me: how is it possible that Rishi Vashishta fixed a supposedly perfect marriage and yet so many people suffered, especially the main characters in the epic, Lord Rama and Mother Sita? Nothing makes any sense until we discover the understanding that heartfulness gives to us about destiny and the consequences of our choices. And even then, many things are often misunderstood. For example, many people come to a spiritual path and guide to relinquish all responsibility for their destiny, with the hope that guide will somehow wave a magic wand and their lives will become peaceful and harmonious, and all their troubles disappear. Times of crisis are also when most people turn to God in desperation, with the hope that somehow He will fix their misery. But that is not what this life is about. It is one extreme end of the spectrum of possibilities and is a bit understanding. Our lives are guided by our hearts, and our hearts are constantly changing like the weather, based on our samskars, the impressions, habits, likes, and dislikes we have accumulated in the past. But if samskars are everything, if our destinies are everything, if the gods have decided our futures, we would be like robots responding to a program. There would not be any need to take birth after birth. It would have ended long time back. Think about this. If our destiny is completely fixed, then why would we need to make choices? And are the choices that we make every day also determined by our destiny? If it was so, then why would we need to be concerned about ethics and consequences of our actions? Why would we need to relinquish our desires? Dear sisters and brothers, let us take a pause from reading and let the meaning of these words sink in, allowing the insights to settle quietly within, like seeds in the fertile soil. And as it is time for the universal prayer, let us come together to offer it with a heart full of love for all of humanity and all of life everywhere. All brothers and sisters are being filled with love and devotion, and real faith is growing stronger in them. सभी भाई बहन प्रेम और भक्ति से भर रहे हैं और उनमें सच्ची श्रद्धा दृढ़ होती जा रही है. May this universal prayer awaken love and devotion in the hearts of all. And as you prepare to close the day, take a few quiet moments for your bedtime prayer and inner reflections. These evening reflections, even if brief, become seeds for deeper awareness. This rhythm of prayer, reflection, and self study is how destiny gently begins to change direction. Let it be your closing act for the day of humility, of sincerity, and of love. Dear sisters and brothers, as this week continues to unfold, let us remain attentive not only to the outer events of our lives, but to the inner responses they awaken. Designing destiny is not an act of force, but of grace. Our task is to stay receptive, to keep preparing, and to walk in step with the invisible current that leads us home. Thank you for your presence this evening, and we look forward to your presence for the morning session tomorrow at 6 a.m. as we continue our reflections on the theme of designing destiny together. Until then, dear sisters and brothers, wishing you a very good evening ahead.